The Cracked Pot. Part 1. The Water Bearer and Two Pots. Once upon a time, in a small village nestled at the foot of a mountain, there lived a kind-hearted old water bearer. He lived alone in a modest house, surrounded by a lush garden filled with plants and flowers. Every day, his job was to fetch water from the stream at the base of the mountain and carry it back to water the plants and provide fresh water for the villagers. The water bearer had a sturdy wooden pole across his shoulders, from which hung two large clay pots. One pot was perfect, always bringing back a full portion of water, but the other pot had a small crack on its side. Each time the water bearer returned home, water would leak out from the cracked pot, and by the time he reached his house, only half of the water remained. At first, the cracked pot didn't notice the difference, but as days passed, it began to realize that it was not like the perfect pot. No matter how hard the water bearer worked, the cracked pot could never hold a full load of water like the other pot. A deep sadness started to grow in the cracked pot's heart. It felt useless, unworthy of being carried alongside the perfect pot. One morning, after the water bearer emptied the water into a large jar, the cracked pot could no longer keep its feelings inside. It trembled slightly and spoke in a sorrowful voice. "Cracked pot, sadly, Master, I'm so sorry. Because of my crack, I have wasted so much of your effort. I am useless. Every time we return home, I only hold half of what I was meant to carry, while the other pot is always full. I don't deserve to be here." The water bearer paused, placing the pole down, and smiled gently. Instead of replying immediately, he reached out and softly touched the cracked pot. "Water bearer, have you ever noticed the flowers growing along the path we walk every day?" The cracked pot was surprised. It had never paid attention to the flowers before. Doubtful, it hesitantly asked, "Cracked pot, flowers? What do you mean?" The water bearer continued to smile, his eyes full of kindness, as if he was about to reveal a great secret. The water bearer carefully lifted his pole and led the cracked pot to look along the path they walked every day. Water bearer, smiling, "Do you see the beautiful flowers blooming along this path? Do you know why they grow so well?" The cracked pot blinked, observing the vibrant flowers lining the roadside. There were bright yellow daisies, delicate wildflowers swaying in the breeze, and many other blossoms creating a picturesque trail. But the pot still didn't understand. Cracked pot, confused. "What do these flowers have to do with me?" The water bearer chuckled softly and explained, "Water bearer, I knew about your crack from the very beginning. So, I scattered flower seeds along this path. Each day, as we walked back from the stream, you unknowingly watered them with the drops that leaked from your side. Thanks to you, these seeds sprouted and grew into the beautiful flowers you see now." The cracked pot was speechless. It had never imagined that its flaw, something it saw as a weakness, could actually bring such beauty into the world. It gazed at the flowers swaying gently in the sunlight, and for the first time, it felt a sense of joy. "Water bearer, if you were perfect like the other pot, this path would be barren, and my home would have no flowers to brighten my days. You are not useless. You are special in your own way." The cracked pot remained silent, but this time, it was not from sadness. A new feeling of pride was growing in its heart. The cracked pot stood still, overwhelmed with emotion. It had never thought that its flaw, the crack it always saw as a weakness, could actually be a gift. It gazed at the flowers, feeling a joy it had never experienced before. Cracked pot, emotionally, "So, I'm not useless? I actually helped these flowers grow?" The water bearer nodded kindly. "Water bearer, that's right. My dear pot, everything in this world has its own value, even if it's not perfect. The important thing is to make the most of what we have to bring good things to life. You don't need to be like the perfect pot. Because of you, with your little crack, these beautiful flowers exist." The cracked pot no longer felt ashamed. Instead, it felt a deep sense of pride in itself. From that day on, every time the water bearer walked along the familiar path, the cracked pot no longer worried about the water dripping from its side. It now understood that each drop helped bring life, allowing the flowers to bloom in radiant colors. Narrator: each of us has flaws, but sometimes, it is our imperfections that create unique beauty and bring unexpected value. Embrace yourself, and remember that no matter who you are, You have the power to create something wonderful in your own special way.